The morning sun cast long shadows across our Mission Hills driveway as I watched my wife of 14 years destroy our marriage with surgical precision. Isabel stood beside her personal trainer, Julian, both of them looking like they'd stepped out of a luxury travel magazine. She wore the silk dress I'd bought her for our anniversary last year, the one she claimed made her feel beautiful again. "You're too predictable, Arthur," she said, not even bothering to lower her voice. "Too safe. Julian appreciates me in ways you never could. He understands what I need." I stood there holding the car keys to the BMW I'd planned to drive us to the airport, feeling something cold and calculating settle in my chest. Behind Isabel, Julian had the decency to look uncomfortable, but not uncomfortable enough to leave. His perfect tan and designer sunglasses told the story of a man who'd never worked a 60-hour week to pay for someone else's dreams. "The Europe trip," I said quietly. "You're still going?" "Of course I'm still going. I've been looking forward to this for months." She adjusted her purse strap, a gesture I'd once found endearing. "But not with you. Julian has already booked his ticket. Same flight, same itinerary. We thought it would be cleaner this way." Cleaner. Like our marriage was a business transaction being efficiently terminated. I'd spent 3 months planning this trip. 7 countries, 14 days, every detail researched and arranged. The sunrise breakfast at the Eiffel Tower she'd mentioned wanting to see. That little vineyard in Tuscany from her Pinterest board. The private tour of the Vatican she'd bookmarked but never asked for directly. Each reservation made with the careful attention of a man trying to save his marriage through perfect execution. "Here's the itinerary," I said, handing her the leather portfolio I'd stayed up until 2 a.m. organizing. "Flight leaves in 2 hours." She took it without looking at me, passing it immediately to Julian like I'd just handed her garbage to dispose of. He flipped through the pages with casual interest, as if my months of planning were a restaurant menu he might order from. "This is actually pretty comprehensive," he said to her, not me. "You didn't tell me he'd planned this much detail." "Arthur's always been obsessive about organization," Isabel replied. "It's one of his qualities." The way she said qualities made it sound like a character flaw. I nodded once and got back in my car. As I reversed out of the driveway, I watched them in my rearview mirror. Julian had his arm around her waist, possessive and confident. She was laughing at something he whispered, the sound carrying across the morning air like broken glass. What Isabel didn't know, what neither of them knew, was that every single reservation had been made through my business credit card. Every hotel booking required photo identification matching the name on the reservation. Every restaurant confirmed through my email address. Every tour guide had my cell phone as the primary contact. I'd built this trip like I built everything else in my life, with complete control over every moving part. My office building felt different at 7 a.m. when it was empty. I'd always been the first one in, but today I wasn't coming in to work. I was coming in to systematically dismantle 14 years of shared assets and mutual dependencies. I pulled up the folder labeled Europe Anniversary Trip on my computer. 47 separate reservations across 7 countries. Hotel confirmations in Paris, Rome, Barcelona, Prague, Vienna, Munich, and Amsterdam. Private tours booked through local agencies that required 48-hour advance notice for changes. Restaurant reservations at places that had 3-month waiting lists. Secured only because I'd had my assistant call repeatedly and mention we were celebrating our wedding anniversary. Every single confirmation email contained the same clause. Changes or cancellations require verification from the primary cardholder and may result in full forfeiture of deposits. I started making calls. "Hotel Ritz Paris, how may I assist you?" "This is Arthur Keller. I have a reservation confirmation number RZ4471. I need to make some changes." "Of course, Mr. Keller. What changes would you like to make?" "I need to cancel the reservation entirely. Family emergency." "I understand, sir. However, I must inform you that cancellation within 48 hours results in forfeiture of the full payment. The amount charged was €4,200 for your presidential suite." "That's fine. Please process the cancellation immediately." 47 calls, 47 cancellations. By the time I finished, I'd forfeited over $30,000 in deposits and prepayments. Money I'd earned working until midnight for months. Money Isabel had assumed would simply be there for her and Julian to enjoy. My assistant Megan arrived at 8:30, finding me still on the phone. "Mr. Keller? I thought you were leaving for Europe today." "Change of plans," I said, hanging up from canceling our wine tasting tour in Bordeaux. "I need you to book me 2 tickets to Italy. Today, Rome, then Florence. Open-ended return. 2 tickets? My sister Olivia is coming with me. Call her at this number and tell her to pack for 2 weeks. Tell her it's time she saw Europe properly. Megan hesitated. Should I ask what happened to the original trip? The original trip is happening exactly as planned. My wife and her boyfriend are probably boarding their flight right now. They're going to have a very educational experience. Olivia picked up on the second ring. Arthur? Megan said something about Italy. What's going on? Isabel left me for her personal trainer. They stole my anniversary trip. I canceled everything, and I'm taking you to Italy instead. Can you be ready in 4 hours? Silence. Then, you canceled everything? Like everything, everything. Every hotel room, every restaurant reservation, every tour guide, every transportation arrangement. They're going to land in Paris with confirmed tickets to a vacation that no longer exists. Jesus, Arthur, that's cruel, vindictive, calculated. I was going to say brilliant. Marcus never would have been smart enough to pull something like that. Yes, I'll be ready. I've been telling you for years, that woman didn't deserve you. Olivia was the only person who'd never pretended to like Isabel. 3 years younger than me, she'd been married to a financial advisor who'd been stealing from his clients while cheating with his secretary. When everything came out, Olivia had lost their house, her savings, and her faith in people. She'd rebuilt everything from scratch, working as a paralegal while finishing her accounting degree at night. She understood betrayal, and she understood the importance of financial security. There's one more thing, I said. I'm filing for divorce when we get back. I need you to be my witness for some things. What kind of things? The kind of things that prove she's been using our joint accounts to fund her affair for months. Another pause. How long have you known? Suspected. 6 months. Known for certain? About 3 hours. And you planned all this? No, I said, surprised by my own honesty. I planned a romantic trip to save my marriage. Everything else is improvisation. Rome's Fiumicino airport buzzed with the energy of summer travelers. Olivia and I sat in the Alitalia lounge sharing a bottle of Chianti while we waited for our connection to Florence. My phone had been buzzing constantly for the past 2 hours. Isabel's name lit up the screen every few minutes. Are you going to answer that? Olivia asked. Eventually, but not yet. Right now, they're probably standing in the lobby of a hotel that has no record of their reservation, arguing with a concierge who doesn't speak English very well. My phone rang again. This time I answered. Arthur! Isabel's voice was tight with barely controlled panic. There's been some kind of mistake with the hotel. What kind of mistake? They're saying they have no record of our reservation. The concierge is being completely unreasonable. He won't even look at the confirmation email. I took a sip of wine, savoring the moment. That's strange. Did you show them your identification? Of course I showed them identification. They said the reservation was made under a different name and they can't release the room without the primary cardholder present. Arthur, we're standing here with our luggage, and they're treating us like criminals. Where's Julian? A pause. He's trying to find us another room, but everything's booked. It's peak tourist season. Expensive time to travel, I said. This isn't funny. I need you to call them and straighten this out. The number is... I'm in Italy. Silence. Then... What do you mean you're in Italy? Rome, actually, about to fly to Florence. Olivia and I are having a wonderful time. The wine here is exceptional. The silence stretched so long I thought the call had dropped. You're in Italy, she said finally, her voice different now, smaller. It's our anniversary trip, Isabel. I planned it, I paid for it, and now I'm taking it. With someone who actually wants to spend time with me. You can't just take my sister on our anniversary trip. Olivia is my sister, and this was never your trip. It was mine. You just assumed you were invited. You bastard. The words came out like a hiss. You deliberately sabotaged us. I didn't sabotage anything. I simply took control of my own life, something I should have done years ago. We're stranded here. Do you understand that? We have nowhere to stay. I'm sure Julian will figure something out. He seems very confident about his ability to provide for you. The credit card isn't working either. It's being declined everywhere. Which credit card? The travel card. The one you gave me for emergencies. I paused, as if trying to remember. Oh, right. I canceled that card this morning. Security precaution. Identity theft is a real concern when traveling internationally. Olivia was trying not to laugh, covering her mouth with her napkin. Arthur, Isabel's voice had changed again, softer now, pleading. This is insane. We can work this out when you get home, but right now we need help. I need help. Please. For 14 years, that tone had been my Achilles heel. The moment Isabel softened her voice and asked for help, I'd moved mountains, fixed problems, solved crises, made everything better because making her happy was how I measured my worth as a husband. But sitting in that airport lounge, watching travelers hurry past with their own destinations and their own stories, I realized something fundamental had shifted. The urgency I used to feel when she needed me was gone, replaced by something colder and infinitely more satisfying. Isabel, I said quietly, 6 hours ago you told me I was too boring for this trip. You said another man appreciated you more than I ever could. You replaced me with your personal trainer and expected me to just accept it. I didn't mean, you meant every word, and now you're in Paris with him just like you wanted. Enjoy it. I hung up and turned off my phone. Olivia raised her wine glass. To brothers who finally grow a spine. We clinked glasses, and for the first time in months, I smiled without forcing it. Florence revealed itself like a Renaissance painting coming to life. Our hotel overlooked the Arno River, and from our adjoining rooms we could see the Ponte Vecchio spanning the water like a bridge made of jewelry boxes. Olivia had unpacked quickly and gone exploring, but I'd stayed behind to make phone calls. First call, Robert Sterling, my attorney. Robert, it's Arthur Keller. I need to discuss divorce proceedings. I'm sorry to hear that, Arthur. How can I help? I need to understand California's position on adultery and the misuse of joint assets to support an extramarital affair. A pause. Are we talking about significant amounts? I've been tracking suspicious charges for 8 months. Expensive dinners, hotel rooms, jewelry, travel expenses, all charged to our joint accounts while she was conducting her affair. California is a no-fault state, but adultery can still impact asset division, especially if community property was used to finance the relationship. Do you have documentation? Extensive documentation, credit card statements, hotel receipts, witness statements from her gym where she met her lover. I also have evidence that she's currently in Europe with him, using what she thought was my money to fund their romantic getaway. Excellent. When you're ready to file, we'll need to discuss asset protection, spousal support, and division of property. Given that she's actively depleting joint assets to support her affair, we may be able to seek reimbursement. That's second call, my business banker. Mr. Keller, how can I help you today? I need to remove my wife as an authorized user on all business accounts, effective immediately. I also want to change all access codes and require additional verification for any transactions over $1,000. Of course. Should I also flag any attempts to access the accounts using her credentials? Yes. And I want a detailed report of any attempted access, including timestamps and IP addresses. Third call, my accountant. Eleanor, I need a complete audit of all joint assets and any business expenses that might have been used for personal purposes over the past year. This sounds serious, Arthur. My wife has been using our joint accounts to fund an affair. I'm filing for divorce, and I need to know exactly how much money she's stolen. By evening, I'd systematically secured every financial asset, changed every password, and documented every suspicious transaction from the past year. Isabel had been bleeding our accounts dry to support her relationship with Julian. Expensive dinners at restaurants I'd never been to, weekend getaways to luxury hotels in San Diego, jewelry purchases I'd never seen her wear. The total came to $47,000 over 8 months. Olivia found me on the hotel's rooftop terrace, working on my laptop while the sun set over the Duomo. You look different, she said, settling into the chair across from me. Different how? Focused, like you finally found something worth fighting for. She was right. For the first time in years, I wasn't trying to fix someone else's problems or manage someone else's emotions. I was building something, not a romantic gesture or a peace offering, but a strategy, a plan to reclaim my life from someone who'd been systematically destroying it. My phone buzzed with a text from Isabel. This isn't over. I deleted it without responding and closed my laptop. How was the Uffizi? I asked Olivia. Incredible, but you would have loved the business district more. Did you know Florence basically invented modern banking? The Medici family created the first international bank in the 15th century? I didn't know that. They understood something important about power, she continued. It's not about having money. It's about controlling access to money. I looked at her sharply. What do you mean? I mean, Isabel is about to learn the difference between being given things and actually owning them. The calls started coming every few hours after that. Isabel and Julian, stranded in Paris without accommodation, money, or any way to access the vacation they'd stolen. Each conversation was a masterclass in watching someone's entitled worldview crumble in real time. The American Express isn't working either, Isabel reported during her fourth call. They said the account has been frozen. Identity theft protection, I explained patiently. When unusual charges appear in foreign countries, credit companies automatically freeze accounts. It's for your own security. These aren't unusual charges. These are the charges we planned. We didn't plan anything, Isabel. You planned something with Julian. I planned something completely different. You're being vindictive. I'm being protective of my assets, my business, and my future. Things I should have protected a long time ago. By day 3, their situation had become desperate. They'd found a small hotel in Montmartre, but without access to funds, they couldn't pay for meals, transportation, or any of the activities they'd planned. Julian, it turned out, was not as financially secure as his appearance had suggested. Personal trainers, even expensive ones, don't typically have enough disposable income to fund luxury European vacations. We had to walk 12 kilometers today because we couldn't afford a taxi, Isabel said during her evening update call. Julian's feet are covered in blisters. Paris is a beautiful city for walking, I replied. I was sitting in a cafe near the Duomo, sharing an expensive bottle of wine with Olivia. Very romantic, I'm told. This isn't romantic. This is punishment. No, Isabel. Punishment would be vindictive and cruel. This is just natural consequences. You chose to leave your husband for another man. You chose to steal his anniversary trip. You chose to assume his money would always be available to fund your choices. Those were your decisions. Now you're living with the results. I want to come home. No one's stopping you. There are flights from Paris to San Diego every day. We can't afford flights home. Then I suggest you figure out a solution. You're a grown woman with a college degree and a career. You made adult decisions. Now make adult solutions. I hung up and ordered dessert. Olivia was studying me with the expression she'd worn as a child when she was trying to solve a puzzle. You're enjoying this, she said. Yeah. More than I expected you would. What do you mean? I mean, most people would feel guilty by now. You don't feel guilty at all. She was right. I'd expected to feel conflicted about leaving my wife stranded in a foreign country without money. Instead, I felt something I hadn't experienced in years. Complete peace. No anxiety about her mood. No guilt about failing to make her happy. No responsibility for solving problems she'd created for herself. I spent 14 years taking care of someone who never once asked if I needed taking care of, I said. I worked 60-hour weeks to pay for her lifestyle while she complained that I didn't spend enough time with her. I funded her personal training sessions while she used them to audition my replacement. I planned our anniversary trip while she planned to steal it with another man. And now she's learning what life looks like when someone stops solving her problems for her. My phone buzzed with another text. This time it was from an unknown number. This is Julian. We need to talk. Man to man. I showed Olivia the message. She raised an eyebrow. The personal trainer wants to negotiate? Apparently. I typed back. About what? The response came immediately. About ending this before it goes too far. Isabel told me about your business. We both know you can afford to help us get home. This doesn't have to be war. I stared at the message for a long moment, feeling something cold and calculating settle deeper into my chest. Julian thought this was about money. He thought I was punishing them financially because I couldn't compete with them physically. He had no idea that money was just the weapon I'd chosen, the one I was best at using. I typed back, "You're right, it doesn't have to be war. Surrender is also an option. What do you want?" I thought about that question while Olivia watched me, her expression unreadable. What did I want? I wanted Isabel to understand what she'd thrown away. I wanted Julian to understand that stealing another man's wife came with consequences. I wanted them both to learn that actions had prices, and some prices were higher than they'd calculated. But more than any of that, I wanted to be free. Free from the exhausting work of trying to earn love from someone incapable of giving it. Free from the responsibility of managing someone else's emotions. Free from the guilt of never being enough for someone who would never have enough. I want you to disappear from my wife's life, I typed back. Permanently, completely. No contact, no communication, no social media connections. You go back to your actual life and pretend this never happened. And if I do that, then I'll transfer enough money for 2 economy flights back to San Diego. You'll land at Lindbergh Field and never see each other again. How do I know you'll keep your word? Because keeping my word is what separates me from people like you. Olivia was reading over my shoulder now. You're going to let them come home? I'm going to let him come home. Isabel has other arrangements to make. What do you mean? I showed her the next message I was typing. The offer is for 1 ticket, Julian. Isabel can figure out her own transportation. She wanted independence. Now she can have it. 3 days later, Olivia and I were sitting in a sidewalk cafe in the Trastevere district of Rome when my phone rang. The caller ID showed my attorney's office. Robert? Arthur, we have a problem. Your wife has retained counsel. Patricia Ramirez from Ramirez and Associates. They're claiming you've abandoned her in a foreign country without resources, and they're threatening to seek emergency spousal support and possibly press charges for financial abuse. I looked at Olivia, who was pretending not to eavesdrop. Well, obviously listening to every word. Oh, what kind of charges? They're arguing that freezing joint accounts while she's traveling constitutes domestic abuse through financial control. It's a stretch, but in California's current legal climate, it's not impossible. And what do you recommend? Come home. Now. File first, file aggressively, and be prepared to demonstrate that every action you took was legally justified. We need to control the narrative before she does. I'd been expecting this call. Isabel was many things, but she wasn't stupid. Eventually, she would figure out how to fight back, and her first move would be to cast herself as the victim of a controlling, vindictive husband. Book us on the next flight to LAX, I told Olivia after hanging up. The vacation's over. Already? We haven't even been to Venice yet. Venice will still be there next year. My business might not survive a protracted legal battle with a motivated ex-wife. That evening, as we packed our bags in our Roman hotel room, Olivia asked the question I'd been avoiding. What happens when you get home? Divorce proceedings. Asset division. Probably a year of legal warfare. That's not what I meant. I stopped folding clothes and looked at her. What did you mean? I mean what happens to you. You've spent the last week dismantling your marriage and destroying your wife's life. What happens when that's finished? Who do you become when you're not getting revenge? It was a fair question. For the past week, I'd been operating on pure adrenaline, fueled by righteous anger and the satisfaction of perfect execution. But anger was a temporary fuel. Eventually, it would burn out, and I'd be left with whatever remained. I don't know, I admitted. For 14 years, I defined myself by my relationship with Isabel. Good husband, successful provider, problem solver. When she was happy, I was successful. When she was unhappy, I was failing. And now? Now I get to find out who I am when I'm not responsible for someone else's happiness. Olivia smiled, the first genuinely warm expression I'd seen from her all week. I think you're going to like that person. Los Angeles looked exactly the same as we descended through the marine layer, but everything felt different. This was no longer the city where I lived with my wife. This was the city where I was about to rebuild my life as a single man. We landed at LAX on a Thursday morning. By Thursday afternoon, I was sitting in Robert's office reviewing divorce papers that would officially end my marriage and begin the most complicated legal battle of my life. She's filed a countersuit, Robert explained, sliding a thick folder across his desk, claiming abandonment, financial abuse, intentional infliction of emotional distress, and seeking emergency spousal support of $8,000 per month. $8,000? She's claiming that's what she needs to maintain the lifestyle she became accustomed to during your marriage. I actually laughed, for the first time since receiving his call in Rome. The lifestyle she became accustomed to was funded by my 60-hour work weeks while she spent her days at the gym with her personal trainer. If she wants to maintain that lifestyle, she can ask Julian to work 60-hour weeks. About Julian, Robert said, he's agreed to provide testimony about the nature of their relationship. Apparently, your financial pressure convinced him that discretion was more valuable than romance. He's going to testify against her? He's going to testify truthfully about the duration and nature of their affair, the money she spent on him, and his understanding that she was using marital assets to fund their relationship. In exchange, we've agreed not to pursue him for conversion of marital property. I stared at Robert, feeling a satisfaction so complete it was almost physical. So he gets to go home to his wife and children, and Isabel gets to face the consequences alone. Justice isn't always poetic, but sometimes it's efficient. The divorce took 8 months to finalize. 8 months of depositions, financial audits, witness statements, and legal maneuvering. 8 months of Isabel's attorneys trying to paint me as a controlling, vindictive husband who'd abandoned his wife in a foreign country out of spite. The facts, however, were more stubborn than their narrative. Fact: Isabel had conducted an 8-month affair, documented through credit card statements, hotel receipts, and witness testimony. Fact: she had used $47,000 in marital assets to fund this affair, including expensive dinners, weekend getaways, and gifts for her lover. Fact: she had planned to steal our anniversary trip with her affair partner, using money I had earned and credit I had established. Fact: when I chose to take the trip myself instead of allowing them to steal it, I had broken no laws and violated no court orders. The judge was a woman in her 60s, who'd probably seen every variation of marital deception during her 30-year career. She listened to Isabel's attorneys describe me as financially abusive. She listened to my attorneys document Isabel's systematic theft of marital assets. Then she made her ruling. Mr. Keller will not be required to pay spousal support. Mrs. Keller will reimburse the marital estate for funds improperly used to support her extramarital relationship. Division of assets will reflect Mrs. Keller's conversion of community property for personal use. When the gavel came down, Isabel would leave our marriage with her car, her personal belongings, and a $15,000 debt to me for the money she'd stolen. I would keep the house, the business, and most of our joint assets. Outside the courthouse, she tried one last time to hurt me. "You think you've won," she said, her voice carrying the same venom I'd heard that morning in our driveway. "But you'll never find anyone else. You're too controlling, too vindictive. No woman will ever love someone who could do what you did to me." I looked at her for a long moment. This woman I'd spent 14 years trying to make happy, and felt nothing. No anger, no satisfaction, no regret. Just the mild interest you might feel toward a stranger making a scene in public. "Isabel," I said quietly, "the woman who loves me won't be someone I have to trap with money or manipulate with gifts. She won't be someone who needs me to solve her problems or manage her emotions. She'll be someone who chooses to be with me because she enjoys my company. That woman doesn't exist. Maybe not. But if she doesn't, I'd rather be alone than spend another day trying to earn love from someone incapable of giving it." I walked away and never saw her again. 2 years later, I was back in Florence, but this time I wasn't running from anything. Olivia had remarried the widowed professor who treated her like she was worth listening to, and they'd asked me to join them for their honeymoon celebration. "You seem different," Olivia said as we sat on the same hotel terrace where I'd first tasted freedom. "Settled, content." She was right. The anger that had fueled my divorce had burned out months ago, replaced by something quieter and more sustainable. I'd rebuilt my business, focusing on clients who valued expertise over ego management. I'd sold the house in Mission Hills and bought a smaller place in La Jolla with an ocean view. I'd started dating again, carefully, selectively, with the hard-earned knowledge of what I would and wouldn't accept in a relationship. "I learned something important about revenge," I said. "What's that?" "The best revenge isn't destroying someone else's life. It's building a life so good that their opinion of it becomes irrelevant." My phone buzzed with a text from someone named Lena, a marine biologist I'd been seeing for 3 months. She was smart, independent, financially secure, and completely uninterested in being managed or controlled. She solved her own problems, managed her own emotions, and chose to spend time with me because she enjoyed my company. "Dinner tomorrow when you get back," the text read. "I found a new place in Little Italy that doesn't look like a tourist trap." I typed back, "Looking forward to it." Olivia was watching me with a knowing smile. Lena, is she the one?" "I don't know, but she's the first woman I've dated who I don't feel like I need to impress or convince or win over. She either likes me or she doesn't, and either way, I'll be fine." That's a very different approach than you took with Isabel. Everything about my life is different now. Better different. The sun was setting over Florence, painting the ancient city in shades of gold and amber. Somewhere across the ocean, Isabel was living whatever life she'd built from the wreckage of our marriage. I hoped it was a good life, but I no longer cared either way. The best revenge I'd learned was simply living well, and I was living very well indeed.